Hey guys, welcome to my guide covering everything you need to know to play or watch the deception game Dreadhunger. By the end of the video, you will know what Dreadhunger is all about, understand how to start and play a game, and you'll be extremely excited to watch all of my other Dreadhunger videos up on this channel. It's a complicated game, but my guide should clear up any confusion you may have. But first, a little trivia. Dreadhunger is set in the Arctic, specifically throughout the Northwest Passage. It appears to be loosely based on Franklin's lost expedition, led by Captain Sir John Franklin. It's a fascinating true story worth looking up in your own time, and there's a brilliant TV show based on the tale known as The Terror that you can watch up on Prime Video. At least you used to be able to. I'm not sure if it's still there. I was struggling to get to it earlier, but I don't know, maybe I was just being a doofus. There are definite similarities between Dreadhunger and this lost expedition, including the year of departure and the route that Franklin's expedition was taking, though the ship in the game is called the HMS Wendigo, while the ships on Franklin's expedition were the Erebus and the Terror. The wrecks of Franklin's two ships were only found in 2014 and 2016, as they were in separate locations, roughly 48 kilometers apart. That's 30 miles for you weirdos in America. I like to think Dreadhunger offers a supernatural theory as to what might have caused the expedition's failure and the crew's eventual demise, that being thralls. There are also 3 broken ships in Dreadhunger, one still pretty much fully formed, located on the approach. Another is split in half on the summit, which I'd speculate could be the Terror and the Erebus, but on full release, the 3rd shipwreck was added on the Expanse, of course. So this either destroys the theory or it's a random ship on the Expanse, whilst the first 2 could still be the wrecks from Franklin's expedition, but hey, that's just my own personal theory. As of May 2022, the game is exclusively on PC, available in the Steam store, so to get started, launch the game through Steam. Once you click to continue, you'll load onto the ship in the ports of London. Now, there isn't a main menu for Dreadhunger. This really confused me when I first launched the game, but if you're ever confused for what to do, follow the simple instructions that pop up in the center of the screen from time to time to get started. For those of you interested in joining the ever-growing Dreadhunger community, you can press Escape in the game and click the Discord icon in the bottom right-hand corner to join the Dreadhunger Discord. Or just click the link that I've provided in the description of this video. Now, when you launch the game for the first time, I believe you'll be prompted to complete the game's tutorial, and I'd highly recommend playing through it. Even if you're familiar with the game and haven't yet played through the tutorial, I'd also recommend it, because honestly, the tutorial is a lot of fun. It will take about 30 minutes, and it is brilliant. There's hilarious interactions with the AI-controlled crew when you attack them too many times, and gives you voices for most of the characters.
One less amount to be. I've lost my patience.
There's also a fun side mission to find and destroy the totems hidden over the tutorial island. The tutorial should teach you the basics, though I'd also recommend pressing escape and going to your settings to familiarize yourself with the basic controls. Change any inputs you like. I personally changed the Bone Dagger input to my middle mouse button for ease of access. Any inputs that you aren't sure about what they do right away will be relevant down the road, and it'll be useful to have them in the back of your head for when they pop up later. Dreadhunger uses in-game voice chat, so ensure you set up a working microphone of some kind before you play. Playing without a microphone is still possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. You'll be far more likely to be killed in-game as you aren't able to articulate what you've been doing over voice to your crew, and your silence will make you far more suspicious to the other players. Ensure to check what your push to talk button is set to, as your voice will only be heard by other players when you press it. There's also the option to change this in the settings, namely to, I believe, toggle to talk option, though I wouldn't recommend this setting, as you end up saying incriminating things as the thrall by accident and get yourself caught. Anywho, so you've completed the tutorial and you're back in the lobby ship in the ports of London. I'd recommend taking a stroll around the ship, as pretty much everything you can see on board will be in the same places when you start an actual game, with a few minor exceptions. I'll quickly run through the ship and talk through each important location on board by name so you can learn the names that are widely used in-game by the Dreadhunger community. From front to back it goes the poker room, the armory, the kitchen, a crafting bench, the brigs, a few beds, a second crafting bench, the boiler room, the captain's quarters, the ship's wheel, and the crow's nest. There's plans that have been announced on the 2022 roadmap to be able to leave the ship and walk on the docks in the pre-game lobby. Merchants have also been announced which you'll presumably be able to talk to. So depending on when you watch this video in the future, see if you can walk down this ramp onto the docks and explore around. If you can, at this point in time, I'm very jealous. Now to start a game, you need to head to the table in the captain's quarters. Open up the table by pressing E and you'll open up this map. The map has 5 clickable spots. This is the dot to the tutorial which we've already covered. The other dots on the map are the 3 current maps that you can choose to play on: the Expanse, the Approach, and the Summit. And the larger space down below allows you to browse games open on any of the maps. Dreadhunger runs on a players host their own lobbies that others join system. Each game can have a maximum of 8 players, which I'd highly recommend waiting to fill up, as less than 8 players just makes the game more and more difficult for the crew. So to join a game, click on the map you want to play. I'd recommend the Expanse or the Approach for newer players to learn on, and click Browse Expedition. A list of all the currently open lobbies you can join will pop up on the right. The lobby will be named the HMS and then the player's name that's hosting, and it will have relevant details listed next to it. From left to right, this shows how many players are currently in the lobby and how many players can join the lobby. This shows the region the lobby is hosted in, and thus the server you will need to connect to when the game begins, which will predict your ping or latency. And finally, this is the language the lobby has been set to. I'd recommend clicking the little plus next to the word language at the top and select the languages you are able to understand and communicate in to restrict the lobbies that pop up to lobbies that you could actually talk with so that the games go a lot better. To join the lobby, click the word join at the end of the game that you would like to connect to. A quick note here. I'm regularly asked if Dreadhunger is worth buying, as despite liking the look of the game, they'd been put off by some of the poor reviews that comment negatively on how the game manages language barriers. As it stands, a very high percentage of Dreadhunger's player base is Chinese, and this causes issues when non-English speakers join English-speaking lobbies. Dreadhunger heavily relies on players communicating important information with each other, so language barriers can cause big problems in-game and frustration for all involved. With all of this said, I would still absolutely recommend buying Dreadhunger. Whilst it's annoying when it does happen, a vigilant game host can ensure all players who join their lobby can speak English with a quick mic check, and anyone who can't can easily be kicked from the game by the host pressing escape, left clicking on the player in question, and selecting kick. It's a harsh way of handling it, but it's the necessary solution to avoid potentially game-ruining miscommunications. The language filter I mentioned earlier also goes a long way to ensure you are only shown game lobbies that are in your language of choice. Finally, choosing to play Dreadhunger at certain times in your day will decrease lobby wait times. As an Australian, I play from around 9 AM in the morning through to about the mid-afternoon, as this is the prime time for English lobbies, whilst most of America is awake. If I try to play later in the day and evening, I will be faced with longer wait times, as lobbies can take between 10 to 20 minutes to fill up. Obviously, this isn't ideal if you're an Australian who's looking for a game to play when you get home from work, but I would say that Dreadhunger is still worth it, as the game still kicks the butt of every other game currently in its genre, and you'll fall in love with it if you can just practice a little patience. Back on track. If no lobbies are open, or you'd prefer not join the lobbies that are open, you have the choice to launch a lobby of your own. You do so by clicking the Launch Lobby option on your preferred map, then click Create at the bottom. Ensure the public box is ticked. Otherwise, your created lobby will not show up as an available lobby that anyone can join, and you'll be stuck waiting in a game by yourself for a pretty long time. Unticking the public box is desirable if you have a party of 8 who you're waiting on to join to prevent random players from joining while you wait. You can also set up a lobby with custom settings by unchecking public, then clicking Custom Expedition. You'll be able to alter a variety of important sliders, including the number of thralls in the game, the rates your food and hunger deteriorate, and how many days the game will have before the blizzard hits. This is a great option for testing out and exploring the maps in your own time, without the pressure of a full game, and will help you to test out anything you're curious about. I regularly use custom lobbies to run day 1 strategies for Thrall that I want to try out that are dangerous or difficult to pull off. Now that you've joined or hosted a lobby, you need 8 players to begin. While you wait for the other players to join, be sure to head to this wardrobe and select the character you wish to play. There are currently 8 characters, and they each have different character bonuses and starting items. The character bonus becomes more and more significant the more you level your character up, which you do through playing the character and completing each game. The character's starting items are listed below the character portraits in the wardrobe, though they won't mean much to you until you've tried each character and learn what the items do. You can customize your character's look by clicking Customize next to the character in the wardrobe. DLC cosmetics are currently available in the Steam store, which will be wearable once purchased. If they aren't showing up, restart the game and hopefully they'll be there listed for your character to wear. Character level caps out at level 30, but characters can be prestiged at 30 by clicking the Prestige button. This will reset your character to level 1, reducing the effect that their character bonus has, but you'll now have a snowy background that effectively shows off your commitment to the character. There's plans to introduce new prestige bonuses and cosmetics, so depending on when you watch this video, there could be other bonuses available for prestiging and additional prestige options. Once 8 players have joined, or you decide to start with less than 8 players for any reason, you need to begin the game. If you are host, head down to the boiler room, put the coal that you have in your inventory in the boiler, and click the little fire icon to start the boiler up. The boiler will power up. This is done so with or without you having the window for the boiler open. Simply head to the wheel and drive the ship out of the bay by pressing W until the game loads you out. This is only necessary if you are the host. If you aren't, just sit on the ship and pester the lobby creator to start the game like they didn't know that they already needed to do it. Now that the ship's left London, you're now in a game of Dreadhunger. It begins with a hand of 5-card draw, which follows the rules for winning as poker. You can swap each card in your hand once, and you're trying to get the best possible hand to win. As a general rule, look for pairs of cards, or straights, which are consecutive cards of 5, such as 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of any suit, or flushes, which is a full hand of the same suit, either spades, clubs, diamonds, or hearts. This will all make more sense if you read the rules for playing 5-card draw, which I've linked in the description below. Once you're happy with your hand, or out of cards to swap, you wait for the timer to run out and a winner is decided. During this time, you can press and hold the Y button on your keyboard and drag your mouse in a desired direction. This will make your character emote depending on which emote you select. Do note that these emotes are only usable around the poker table and not once the match actually begins. The winner of the hand of 5-card draw wins the captain's key, which unlocks this locked chest in the captain's quarters. You'll now be told your role in the game, either a crewmate or a thrall. Dreadhunger is a social deception game. The majority of players will be crewmates, typically 6 of the 8. The crew's goal is to move the ship through the map and out the other side. To do so is a rigorous task, and the crew need to work together to escape before the deadly blizzard arrives on the night of the 4th day. To add to this, 2 of the 8 players in the game will be told that they are thralls, whose goal it is to sabotage the crew's expedition, eventually leading to the death of all crewmates. Once the poker game is over, all players will be told an individual secret message, either "Beware," which signals they are crewmate and should beware of thralls, or "Shh," which means they are one of the thralls and need to secretly sabotage the mission. The real game now begins. The ship has stopped, the winds have died, there's no food left on board, and the ship has limited coal remaining. Each player starts with one piece of coal which they can put into the boiler to move the ship forward, and get the ship close enough to land to head out and explore the Arctic. The crew are ideally trying to locate coal and food to move the ship forward and stay alive. All players need to eat food to prevent starvation, stay warm to prevent freezing to death, and build up their weaponry to fight the many dangerous predators in the Arctic. For an in-depth guide into playing the crewmate role, check out my beginner's guide to playing crewmate, also up on my channel. The link will be in the description of this video. I'd rather not repeat what I've already covered in that guide, though the two guides will likely overlap in unavoidable places. I'd also like to note that there have been significant changes to the game since I published my beginner's guide in 2021. So if you'd like a part 2 covering these changes, please comment below. As I was saying, the Thrall wants to prevent the crew's escape by any means necessary, so the other players in the game can and should be looking out for who could potentially be the Thralls. The Thralls will hold the ship up, they won't progress the crew forward. They will lie and they'll deceive the crew, and at times it will be very frustrating as you're killed over some manipulated bullshit. But that's the nature of social deception games, and I highly recommend trying not to take what happens in-game too personally. Everyone, including you, will make mistakes and kill the wrong people. If they didn't, it wouldn't be half the game that it is today. You'll be held accountable for what you're seen doing and need to explain your strange behavior to any players who ask. Try to refrain from snide remarks if a player says or does something you find stupid or irritating. Respecting each other will make your Dread Hunger experience significantly better. I cannot stress this point enough. A game will take up to 35 minutes of time to play, so you have a lot of time to build up relationships with the other players. But the crew know that 2 of the players are trying to sabotage and kill them, so every action is taken with a grain of salt. Friendships are built up and betrayed, and all too often it leaves players preferring not to build up trust at all, just to prevent themselves from ever being double-crossed. As a Thrall, your options feel limitless, as unlike Among Us, it's the crew who are on a time limit. This leaves a lot of time for the Thralls to do or say whatever they can imagine to slow down and sabotage the crew. Finally, I'm going to cover some important parts of the game that you really need to understand to enjoy playing or watching Dread Hunger. Dread Hunger has an inbuilt natural counter to outright killing a player you go off alone with, as if you're killed, you respawn in the jail brigs on board the expedition ship. You're stuck in there until another player frees you with one of the many skeleton keys that are hidden around the map. But you can talk to any players in range of voice chat, telling them who killed you and pleading your case to be released. This prevents Thralls from outright killing a player because their identity as a Thrall will be revealed and they'll be outed and not welcome back on the expedition ship. If a player is released from the brig, they're on their last chance life. If they're killed again, they will not be brought back to the brig and will be silenced forever. Next, the Thrall's signature move is their Bone Dagger. There are currently 3 spells the Thrall can cast, though the spell Doppelganger has been announced, which is expected to allow you to become a player of your choice or mimic them for a short duration. There was also mention of the Thralls having spell customization in the roadmap, so I'm imagining you'll be able to choose what spells your Thrall will have available to use should you be given the role. So depending on when you watch this video, keep an eye out for a spot to customize what spells your Bone Dagger can use, presumably somewhere in the pre-game lobby, though this is all just speculation at this point. If this is indeed the case, I'll likely have created a video explaining all of this in the future anyway, so I'll link that in the description too if I do end up making one. For an in-depth guide into playing and surviving as the Thrall, please check out my Thrall guide, which I've also linked in the description. Eventually the ship will reach the end, but can't get past the large iceberg at the end of the map. You'll need to destroy it with nitroglycerin. This is the final mission for the crew, and a big chance for the Thralls to do some damage. Nitro is positioned in fixed locations on each map. On the Expanse, it's along the boardwalk, next to the lighthouse, protected by cannibals and a polar bear. On the Approach, it's at the end of the map to the left of the iceberg, near an abandoned campsite protected by a polar bear and packs of wolves. And on the summit, it's in a deep cave at the top of the tallest mountain on the map, of course the summit, also protected by bears and wolves. The Nitro mission gives blend-in thralls the chance to use their earned trust to betray the crew in a potentially explosive manner. The moment of betrayal is so satisfying for the thrall. It's a brilliant moment for all involved, especially if the thrall has successfully fooled the crew into trusting them. This is what makes Dread Hunger so damn good. Chasing that gotcha moment. This moment, along with trying to solve who the thralls are in time to prevent catastrophe, has kept me playing Dread Hunger for almost 1,000 hours. Once the game ends, either with the crew escaping or with the death of all crewmates, the winner is announced with a cool end screen. The scores for everyone in the game will then be shown with a progression bar that monitors how your score progressed over the course of the game. The map in the center shows every player's pathing in relation to the map, and it can give you answers to moments in the game you're confused by. You can drag the progress bar to check specific times, or just drag it to the end to see your final score. Alternatively, you can increase the playback speed here. Each player's score is graded on a letter system, from S being perfect down to F-, which you can only receive if you actively work against your team, as it requires an end score in the negative numbers. Your score determines the experience points gained for your characters leveling up. Each action you took in the game will score you points, with the big ticket items like feeding the crew, fueling the boiler, or exploding the nitroglycerin scoring a lot of points for the crew who completed them. You can check out each individual player's score breakdown by clicking this button to unhighlight all players but yourself. From there, you can check out your score, then unhighlight yourself by clicking your character icon and then individually clicking on the player you would like to check. To level your character up quickly, take notes of what is causing the other players in your game to score so well and start doing that too. Once you exit this screen, you'll be back in the pre-game lobby. If you want to see your previous expedition's score, open up the map from the table in the captain's quarters and click the last expedition button down the bottom. This will only work with the last expedition you completed. It will then be replaced with the next game you complete. To start up a new game, the host will need to once again select the map they wanted to play from the table map and launch a lobby once more. A few final things of interest to finish. I'd highly encourage checking out this little book in the corner of the captain's quarters, which is only available in the pre-game lobby. It shows off your stats from previous games, as well as the compendium, which gives you details on everything relevant in Dread Hunger. Reading through the compendium in detail will greatly increase your understanding of what everything is and does, though playing the game will be the fastest way to learn, other than watching my videos of course. And that's everything you need to know to actually enjoy playing or watching a game of Dread Hunger. With any luck, I've answered anything that was confusing you about the game, but if I missed anything or you just want to say hi, please let me know in the comments below, or come by my Twitch stream every Tuesday from 9 AM Australian Eastern Standard Time. I think that's like late night Monday evening for Americans, correct me if I'm wrong. But as always, good luck out in the Arctic, and watch out for Bongo. Ah! I mean, no. Ah.